the 06010. Fantasy Focus.
What's good, friends? Welcome into Fantasy Focus Football alongside Field Yates and Mike Clay. My name is Daniel Dopp. I feel like my chair is shorter than yours now that I look at it.
Maybe I drank a lot of milk over the last
Did you
month,
grow
and
a lot?
I grew. Also, do we have new background music right now?
Sounds like we do right now.
Pretty
Mike,
cool.
let's
I
see some
like
of
it.
those moves.
We got some edge.
No, I regret asking for this.
Yeah, can we please gift that?
If you're
Right
not
now?
watching the
No one
YouTube
wants that.
stream, you made the right decision today because you didn't want to see Mike Clay dancing
You told
first
me
thing
to
in the
dance,
morning.
sir. You.
That was
this
actually
is
pretty
your fault.
impressive.
Like that?
Not bad.
Yeah.
All right.
If that was it was like the dad joke version of dancing.
Yeah,
those were the
that's what I was
classic
going
dad
for. As we talked about right before the show, I do that all the time to the girls just to irritate them. So,
Those fist pumps don't lie, Mike. You were doing a great job with that.
I think he was doing like
Like the Egyptian?
Egyptian.
Yeah.
how about this? This is the old dad one, right?
Yeah, the lawnmower. That's a good
go-to.
one.
I like that one.
Do you have a nerd version of that? Do you do like a cool like typing thing? Like I'm on my computer doing typing stuff?
How did the typewriter? Ding.
Yeah, that's this is what it's all about. This is
I-
how I wanted
that's a
to
good
start the
one.
show today. This
That's
is
a good
good.
one.
I do love it because one of the there are some signals in the NFL that are universal, and one of the most common ones is when that too. But when a defensive coordinator, so as you know, obviously the offense dictates the pace between plays, right?
Sure.
Sometimes when the defense is running around and they want to just do the exact same thing, you see this often in like 2-minute drills. You'll see the defensive coordinator just do a like this, or like simulating playing a piano. It means play it, like just play the same thing
play
we
it.
played last time. So if we were in cover 2 the snap prior, this is the universal signal for do it again, cover 2 on this next snap. But it always looks hilarious because no coordinator ever is just on there on the sidelines. You take a shot right here where it's just like, okay, guys. Like,
Gentle playing.
Every time it's like this. It's like, play it, play it. And every defensive player is like, okay, got it.
Happens
we're
all the
playing
time.
it,
They
you
have
know,
those
like-
signals and they do them like maniacs.
Yes,
and it's
they're
so
like
bad
maniacs,
every time.
yeah.
I think another one that would be good for that would be someone slapping the bass. Let's just slap the bass. Let's go, baby.
That works. Hey, whatever
You know,
works to get the call
whatever
right.
instrument you want to pull
Good
from.
Paul Rudd reference.
Hey, let's shout out really quickly our buddy Eric Moody. Speaking of music, you made an awful Led Zeppelin joke on Sunday,
It
Field
wasn't a
Yates.
joke. It was an
You heard
attempt
about
to get
that?
underneath his skin.
Have there been repercussions?
I heard some people.
Yeah.
And the thing is that, like, so I told Eric Moody, basically on Fantasy Football Now, we had the opportunity to trash talk each other's teams. And the first 2 people who were up to talk trash didn't talk any trash.
No, they did not.
Me, who I talk less trash than anybody in human history. But after last year, and my team absolutely wiped the floor with the rest of the league, and because no one else was participating and I felt like it was good for content, I decided to throw some flamethrowers out there.
Went in.
So I described Eric Moody's fantasy team in FF Now as overrated like Led Zeppelin.
Like Led Zeppelin.
Knowing that would get right to the heart of Eric Moody, who is the biggest music fan not named Daniel Dopp ever. But he likes classic rock.
Yes. Loves
And
classic rock.
I actually don't really have much of an opinion on Led Zeppelin. I appreciate their place in history, but it's rare that I'm like, let me go turn Led Zeppelin on right now. Mostly because I listen to like the Coco Melon theme on repeat at this stage
Yeah,
of
you're
my
in
life.
that stage of life.
Yeah.
I've been there. Yeah.
That being said, or we would listen to the Greatest Showman soundtrack on repeat. But it was an attempt to get underneath his skin, and I want to apologize to all enthusiasts of Led Zeppelin.
Well, Eric Moody hanging out in our chat right now. If you guys have any good music takes, you want to drop into our YouTube chat, head on over there, hang out with our buddy Eric Moody. He's in there every single day, hanging out with us, ask some questions. And by the way, ask some questions for us later on in the show, too. We'd love to be able to get to a mailbag if we have some
By the
time.
way, Field, for the record, had to say that Zeppelin Incorporated reached out. And
Yes,
said, you
they
defamed
said-
us, and you must make a statement on in public
Yes.
to apologize.
And this counts, streaming internet counts as in public.
Exactly
right?
right.
Yes, yeah. So that's it.
That was actual TV. I think it might have been ESPN News, but it was TV.
But
at
it
that
was
point.
TV. Yeah, exactly. Right. Well, we got a very fun show planned for today. We're going to do a little look back, if you don't mind, at the headlines from the future. We had a couple of those that paid off or maybe didn't. We also had a really big injury update overnight that we're going to dive into that will impact a bunch of our fantasy squads. And we're going to preview the beginning of week 2 with a bunch of different things. Mike, I know your playbook is out. We'll probably talk some wide receiver, cornerback, and all that good stuff. So, plus a Thursday Night Football preview, which will be great.
Yep.
Quick shout out to our buddies over at Trophy Smack. Head on over to TrophySmack.com. Use the promo code FOCUS10. Get this really awesome chain or a cool belt or a trophy or this toilet seat that's behind me. Anything that you want for your league, use the promo code FOCUS10 over at TrophySmack.com. And let's tee up really quickly our first segment, headlines from the future. The papers have been
future,
the
did you say?
future,
which
The
is probably
future.
accurate for
Yeah.
mine.
Putrid.
Papers have been printed. The ink is dry on week 1, and Mr. Field Yates, you had something that came true after just 1 week.
I mean, it was true, but I think I may have totally undersold it. My glimpse into the future was that Danny Dimes is a top 10 fantasy scorer in week 1.
Nailed it.
You undersold it.
I undersold it. He was the third highest scoring quarterback for the entire week. Now, things set up really, really well. At the time, we were having fun with just how thin the Dolphins' cornerback depth chart is. Now it's not fun because every quarterback going against the Dolphins might be your top streaming option in a given week until proven otherwise. But
Yeah.
Dimes was great throwing the football. On top of that, he did run the ball 7 times. He, of course, found the end zone as a runner as well. It's funny because for all the reasons for optimism surrounding Dimes, he also draws the Broncos this weekend.
Tough matchup.
Which you say
Other direction.
slightly more difficult matchup compared to the Dolphins last week. But yes, was happy to see Dimes make me look sort of smart.
Very smart.
He
looked
early
very
on.
smart in week 1 with a top 3 finish. at
Well, here's the
position.
thing. History will tell us that I'm money when it comes to Colts week 1 quarterback predictions.
Yes, that's
Because
everyone
Anthony
knows that about you,
Richardson
Fields.
was amazing last year in week 1 for fantasy. I wouldn't say he was great in real life. He had 9 completions for 209 yards and 2 touchdowns plus 2 rushing touchdowns. I was high. I mean, I was on cloud 9. I was like,
I thought he was. You almost just said I was high as a kite right there. is what
right,
you
I know.
almost said.
Yeah, which, not
no big
be
deal.
normal for me.
Well, we'll have to see next year what you think of Danny Dimes in week 1 with the Colts after he signs his 5-year extension. So,
Michael.
They're drafting a quarterback in the first
Michael.
round. But yes, so I have less optimism this week about Danny Dimes, but that is neither here nor there.
Yeah, that was a headline from the future. We're not talking about week 2. We were talking about week 1.
Right.
Mike, you also had a headline from the future,
did.
but this one was not quite the same.
it wasn't, but it's not my fault. And
Oh, okay. It's not my fault.
I know it's not my fault because the Jags responded in kind on this. Mine was that Bashal Tutin was going to be the most added player on waivers after a big week 1 on a small sample of work. I thought he would have a few explosive plays. And you know what he did to some extent? He flashed a little bit, but didn't get enough volume. And
Yeah.
the Jags knew they messed up. They said, you know what? Mike was right about this. He should be the most added player on waivers after a big week 1, but we did not give him the ball enough.
Yeah.
And you know what they did? They
What'd
said,
they do?
we're going to trade one of our running backs away. So they did that. They sent Tank Bigsby to the Eagles because they got to free this guy up so he can be the most added player on waivers after week 2. So
That's what it was.
I stand by this one for now because, by the way, it's a quick, serious fantasy note on this because that is what we're here to do. There is an opening here for plenty of carries for Tutin. I don't think LaQuint Allen is going to get a lot of carries. I think he'll have some passing down work. Trevor Etienne still clearly the lead back for now. We'll see if he keeps up his efficiency when he's not playing Carolina going forward. We'll see on that. But even if Etienne's still a lead back and we see a little Allen in passing situations, there is room now for maybe 8 carries this week for Tutin. Sure. And if he flashes and is the more efficient back, then he could take on a larger role. So I still think there's reason for optimism to keep him on your bench.
Do your girls love Bashal Tutin because of his name?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I agree.
They're at that age. I mean,
Tutin,
every
that's
age is
funny.
Fart jokes are funny at any age.
yes.
So.
Your
I agree.
daughters and
Yes.
Stefania also love
And Stefania.
Bashal Tutin. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, Stefania is the one that's going to get me canceled someday. 'Cause I'm
That's-
going to tell a joke. I'm going to have to push it so far on FF now for her to laugh that it's going to go too far.
That's going to be, yeah.
Oh, man.
We almost got there this week. So
We
make
did.
sure you hang out and watch Fantasy Football Now on Sunday morning. It's always a ton of fun being able to hang with these guys. That's going to tee us up then. Let's dive into our first part of the week 2 preview. Mike, you just talked about a rookie running back. I want to know if you have any rookie running back preview options for week 2.
Yeah, I want to talk through a segment we did last week. I essentially want to recap my rookie running back segment from last week, right? So I basically remember we had 3 tiers. It was like the clear lineup blocks, the like maybe flex options, and then the bench guys, the bench stashes. Let's see what happens in week 1. And guys, it went bad. It went bad all around.
It did.
We had 2 top 20 performances by rookie running backs, which was not what we expected.
Oh,
from
Ashton
such a
Genty
deep-
and Omarion Hampton?
No. It was neither of those guys.
gotcha.
It was Dylan Sampson, who was 15th, so he was the best one. And then Bill Krosky Merritt, our guy, found the end zone and was 17th. So that was it, 15th and 17th. So I wanted to kind of reevaluate these guys pretty quickly here. I still think we have 2 lineup blocks. Of course, Ashton Genty and Omarion Hampton remain lineup blocks. The volume is terrific. They're going to be fine. The next one I called could maybe start soon, but ideally on your bench. Travion Henderson.
Agreed.
I think we ranked as such with Ramondre Stevenson playing so much. Dylan Sampson, maybe We'll see what happens with Quinshon Judkins this week. I think even if he's active, he won't play much. So
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the guy's in practice in a month.
Sampson's probably very much like Henderson on the flex radar. RJ Harvey, same thing. Not enough volume yet, but I think it'll come at some point. J.K. Dobbins got a lot of the work. And then Bill Krosky-Merritt, who plays tonight, Thursday Night Football. Probably talk about him a little bit later. But another guy, ideally, you're not starting. So that's it for that list. And then we have the bench / waivers guys. So these guys all had 4 or fewer touches in the opener. Caleb Johnson, Michael Toon, we just talked about him. Cam Scatabo, Jaden Blue was inactive. Ollie Gordon had 3 touches, and Woody Marks had 3. So, by the way, Raheem Sanders outscored basically all of these guys that
on one carry.
I know.
More to come on Raheem Sanders later.
Yeah,
I
so,
promise.
right. Yeah, so those guys didn't get really any work, and they are your typical insurance backs, end of bench sort of stashes for now. So I think that's kind of the rookie running back landscape for the time being, and we'll see how that kind of evolves in the next few weeks.
Interesting.
Any thoughts?
Caleb Johnson was the 5th most dropped player in fantasy football, and that just seems, and I know we talked about it, like if injuries bit your team, you had to probably find a spot, but that feels you're giving up on a rookie that you drafted in still the middle rounds so early.
Yeah.
So here's my question. This is a question to both of you, because I posed it on this very show 2-3 weeks ago at this point. I asked, are we getting too far in over our skis on TreVeyon Henderson? He was being drafted like 42nd overall by the time we got to
really
drafts. And he was going higher than that in some of the leagues that I am in. Do you guys feel any different? At the time, the answer was no, we're not. Do you guys feel any different now? Or was the thought process at that time that, hey, it's just a matter of time before he becomes the obvious lead back in this backfield? Because we talked about it yesterday. Mike, I actually think that's a great segment, like 5 things that bothered Mike.
Yes.
Ramondre Stevenson. I was watching the game, and there are times where the box score can lie a little bit, and a player can look better than what the numbers suggest. I felt like in looking at Ramondre Stevenson's touches, it was like, no, they looked like you expect. The box score, I think, was in line with what the eye test showed you, which is that this is not a running back who adds value.
Yeah.
It's a running back who takes up opportunities.
Yeah, I don't think there are a ton of running backs that do really move the needle, but Henderson could be one of those guys. So them losing at home to the Raiders should be a little bit of an eye-opener.
Better be,
We need to use our playmakers more. And again, the reason why I feel like this is going to work itself out pretty soon, too, is they spent a second-round pick on a team that had a lot of needs. They spent a second-round pick on an explosive running back. And by the way, he was plenty involved in the passing game. That's not going to go away at all. So I still feel very confident that this will work itself out. And I did notice this. I don't know if you guys noticed this too, but especially in the first half of games this week, the snaps for the rookies were not great.
Really low.
It took a little while for them to start ramping up. That was the most part for rookies, but I could have mentioned this yesterday too in that angry segment. Did you notice that like Brock Bowers wasn't playing that much in the first quarter or so?
Yeah.
And then that changed. It was like he was being clearly outsnapped by Michael Mayer. And it was like, what are they doing?
And Michael Mayer had a couple of catches. It's like, why do we keep hearing Michael Mayer's name right now?
Yeah. So that was a little bit of a side note. But anyway,
yards for Bowers.
I think there's a little bit of, hey, it's week 1. We're going to let the vet give a little bit of veteran deference, and then the rookie's role starts to evolve a little bit. And I feel like I saw that a lot in week 1. So no, I'm still not worried about it.
Okay,
maybe
good.
This week, but I think it'll change quick.
I think it changes. I think it has to. And some of the pushback I got in posting the video that we had yesterday was like, no, the idea of TreVeyon Henderson was never to have him be the lead back unto himself. He is, and as I described during the preseason, like he was at his best at Ohio State when he had some relief from Quinshon Judkins.
Right.
I'm not asking for him to play 86% of the snaps like Ashton Genty did. I'm asking for him and Ramondre Stevenson to flip roles. I need TreVeyon at 56 or 60% of the snaps, and Ramondre at like 30 or 35% of the snaps. That's what we are asking for.
I don't like rookie season Bijan. Like Tyler Algier and the Ramondre role is like pretty logical. And I know Bijan didn't quite live up to what we wanted as a rookie.
But if you're drafting him as RB19 versus RB4, you'd be cool with it.
Exactly right. If we get consistent, good RB2 numbers for Henderson going forward, we're going to be happy with that. And I think he'll get there.
Okay, so we just talked about Bijan, who was drafted as RB1 overall this year. Yep. And perhaps if we were redrafting, he would have gone as player 1 overall. It's a week-to-week game. It is that is important to note. But you also have to be mindful that some players are probably built to last more than others. Is there a better fantasy option? This is my first question for week 2. Is there a player that deserves to be ranked higher amongst non-quarterbacks? Because quarterbacks obviously have more scoring upside than Christian McCaffrey right now. right now.
I don't
Do you
think
see
so.
our
Until he
projections
gets
for
hurt.
this week?
Yeah, they're huge.
I did because I have to rank. But those out there who are listening, like if I told you could draft and it's just a 1 week, week 2 game, are you drafting Christian McCaffrey first overall?
Yes.
And is that going to be the case until he gets hurt? Or I guess unless he gets hurt.
I think so. It might be close depending on the matchup. Like he draws the Saints, so that's why there's such a big gap. But
Yeah.
he will be very close, if not first, every week.
I was gonna say he'll be top 3 at
And this
at a
is what
minimum.
we did call this. And I mean, we called this all
As
through
he stays
August.
healthy, this is the value in Christian McCaffrey. If he stays healthy for 15 games this season, you got a 5 to 7 pick discount on Christian McCaffrey. He showed it in week 1, even in a game in which Brian Robinson had a role.
Yep.
Right. I think Isaac Garendo might be in witness protection. I don't recall seeing him at all in week 1. But as we know, with Kyle Shanahan, like you might draft a kid in the 3rd round and then he will never play at running back. That's what Kyle is. And I'm not going to sit here and tell Kyle Shanahan how to design or orchestrate a running game because he's a master at it. But Christian McCaffrey had 31 touches in week 1, by far the most of any player in the NFL. And I know there was some news. We should probably address this news. That Brock Purdy is going to most likely miss this game on Sunday.
Yes.
Kyle Shanahan has described him as a long shot, and it could be a multi-week absence. I don't think it really moves the needle that much for me as it pertains to Christian McCaffrey's
Agreed.
value. Like, I'm cool with that. And I think, guys, for the most part, I feel pretty solid about the pass catchers only because this offense has been built to sustain for many, many years. You guys, and I used a Nick Mullins stat on the show yesterday, right? But, like, Mac Jones can be fine.
Yep.
He can be fine. Also, like, just a side note, I'm low-key excited. I'm bummed for Brock. I'm low-key excited to see what it looks like with Mac Jones because you guys both recall the 49ers made a big trade up from pick number 12 to number 3 in the 2021 NFL draft. That was way early, by the way. It wasn't on the clock like the Jaguars and the Browns trade this year. And Shefty, who I will put his reporting up against literally anybody in the entire world, talked about how, in any topic, I don't care what it is, he's the GOAT. He talked about how, like, one of the names that I think is prominently on their radar right now is Mac Jones. And it certainly felt like Kyle Shanahan's preferred target was Mac Jones. He ended up not taking Mac Jones. It ended up being, of course, Trey Lance. Not that Mac Jones has had some, otherworldly career. I think it's safe to say, though, that if you could have redone that, Trey Lance was not the answer. So I'm kind of excited to see what it looks like. Maybe, maybe we're just at a different stage of Mac Jones' career trajectory that Kyle doesn't have nearly the same affinity for him or a hope and excitement for him. That being said, if it looks serviceable on Sunday, you know who won't be surprised? Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, he gets the most out of his players, certainly his quarterbacks. And, maybe he can turn his career around. We've seen several examples of these high pedigree, early drafted quarterbacks, first-round quarterbacks kind of turn the corner a little later in their career.
Yeah.
And one of them last year was Sam Darnold, who actually had a cup of tea with the 49ers.
Yep.
So maybe Mac Jones is next. And we have quarterback controversy. We're not going to have a quarterback
We're
controversy.
not gonna have a
Not after you just got paid.
What's going to
But
happen,
anyway.
though, is Mac Jones is going to play well, and then the 49ers are going to trade him to the Jaguars.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So you can get Brian Thomas Jr. season on track. What's your question?
Exactly
Daniel?
right.
I was actually just trying to look up what Brian Thomas Jr. did with Mac Jones as a passer last
I
year.
have
but
the
he-
answer.
He did exceptional.
Very well.
Kicked booty.
Yes.
That's what he did.
That's what it was. My big one was, do we think that JSN can go off again this week here in week 2 against the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Yes.
It feels like it when you look at everything that he had. His target share is not going to be as high as it was in week 1.
57% unsustainable.
Honestly, it might be.
But it might be 37%
and only throw to
right?
him.
Yeah.
He's a strong bet, I would say, to lead the NFL in targets.
In targets.
Very possible.
Dude.
In that sort of offense.
Totally. Yeah.
And I mean, you looked at the rest of the wide receivers, and there's really not very many. It was Cooper Kupp and Torrey Horton, which that was really it. And then you got the tight ends that are available there. So Cooper Kupp was the next closest with 3 targets for 2 catches and 15 yards. So taking on the Steelers team, do you think we're going to get a shadow by any chance with Joey Porter?
No.
Okay.
I don't think
Not
so.
playing out of the
they have,
slot. I think so.
Porter was, I don't know if he was a little beat up. Maybe I should have looked into this, but he was 3rd in line for snaps there.
Was he?
Ramsey full-time, and Darius Slay played more snaps than Porter.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. All right.
Here's what I'll say. Great call. JSN's going to absolutely mash. His target share is going to be silly.
I thought the Steelers actually were going to be better on defense than they were last week against
One
the
game.
New
I
York
think they
Jets.
will.
I think they will.
They will be. They're just way too talented to not be
Right.
better than 32 points allowed against the Jets. Cooper Kupp is one of those players that if he has 1, 2 at maximum quiet games, will be amongst the most dropped players in fantasy football.
Agreed.
Because it's the reasons for optimism. This did not turn out to be the case, but like if Keon Coleman had back-to-back moderate games to begin the season, you'd be telling yourself, like, there's a glimmer of hope for a second-year player with Josh Allen as his quarterback. If Cooper Kupp has another, like, 2-catch, 3-catch game, maybe follows it up with 3 or 4 the following week, probably welcome to Dumpsville. Right, if you need it. Just because the Rams made a bet that Cooper Kupp is essentially not the player he was anymore. After one game, they're winning that bet.
Yes,
it's a
they
long
are.
season, my friends.
The Cooper Kupp rostered in 85% of fantasy leagues, so there's a lot of rosters that he is on right now.
Yep.
Yeah, I will say only 24 dropbacks for Seattle in that game.
Yeah.
Low passing.
So they'll throw out more, which will help Kupp.
Definitely.
ball
I'm
has
just
to go
saying
somewhere.
he needs a bounce back week as we are thinking about players that could, like Caleb Johnson was like the poster child for droppable after week 1. I think if Cooper Kupp has a couple more quiet weeks, given his roster percentage, his age, and the decline we saw last year, he will be that poster child in week 2 or 3.
And he's not gonna. I mean, that's not gonna crush you. I mean, he was a guy that
he was
like
going
a
like wide receiver
first
42.
or second person on your bench or something like that.
Totally.
So we'll see.
What's next?
You're up next.
I'm up next.
Oh, sorry. No, Mike's up next.
Oh,
We
yeah,
started
I'm
with
next.
Mike. That's my
right.
fault.
We started with me today. We changed it up. Next one for me. Are we going to run it back with some of these veteran running backs that crushed it in week 1? Because there was 3 guys that we were kind of on the fence about throughout the offseason who finished in the top 10 in week 1. Travis Etienne, Breece Hall, and Javonte Williams. Obviously, Etienne dominated the snaps as we talked about earlier in the show. Goes up against Cincinnati this week. They allowed 25 fantasy points to the Browns
Sampson
running
Mosley,
backs.
yeah.
In week 1. Breece Hall goes up against the Bills, who got roughed up, of course, by some guy named Derrick Henry in the opener. Remember Hall, we talked about this yesterday, 36 snaps. The other running backs combined for 27. So that got probably a little closer than you realize, but Hall still dominated the touches. And then, of course, Javonte Williams, 80% of the snaps for the Cowboys in the opener. It sounds like, based on comments, that Jaden Blue will, again, not be active this week. He's not. It seems like maybe the reports from the offseason that he was going to be like a slow roll there are true, because he's obviously inactive for this
Reports
team.
from Fantasy Focus are true.
The reports from Fantasy Focus?
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah.
Listen, I
Might
screwed up
take
a lot
a
of
minute,
things, but like, he's the classic, looks great when it's just running faster in OTAs. But then once the pads come on, it's like you have to pass protect, you got to hold on to the football, you got to know where you're supposed to be every single snap. There's a reason why a player that talented went in the 5th round rather than the 3rd round.
And as a result, Javonte Williams is going to remain the lead back for now. I think he's going to have to be more efficient. He scored the 2 touchdowns, but the efficiency was not good. 3.6 yards per carry, 3.3 yards per target in that game. Terrible. They have to get more out of him, or we're going to see these other backs. But they are playing the Giants, guys. Allowed 164 yards and 25 fantasy points to Washington's backfield in week 1. So
good opportunity
theoretically,
to run the
these could be
football
good
a lot.
matchups for all 3 of these veteran running backs. I have them ranked 23rd for ETN, 17th for Hall, 24th for Javonte. So all at least startable as flex, and certainly in the RB2 conversation.
Question for you, Mike. Daniel and I are just kind of like smaller brain dudes than you, but do you ever deal with expected fantasy points in your analysis?
Yeah, we have
I know you
expected
have OTD.
fantasy.
Okay.
Well, we have OFP too. We post that every week on
Opportunity
ESPN.com.
fantasy
It's this
points.
new
Gotcha.
up-and-coming sports website, and we put fantasy analytics, and there's one called expected fantasy points.
Okay, yes.
Which is
implied fantasy points? Wait, where do we have on ESPN.com?
it's in the fantasy football section. There's stats. There's tabs for expected touchdowns. Right next to it's expected fantasy
Oh,
points.
okay. I didn't. I love the touchdown.
Yeah, how
I
about
care more about the touchdowns than the fantasy
Yeah,
points.
same thing. Yeah.
I was teeing you up.
I'm looking at it right now. It's under the more section. It says XFP leaders.
Okay, got it. All right.
Look at that.
Because I bet that Javonte Williams, even if he duds in week 2, like duds, like, I could see him going 17 carries for 59 rushing yards and 1 catch for 8 yards. And people are like, what the heck, man? But it's like, you got 18 opportunities from a starting running back.
Yeah, he's not going to score all their touchdowns every week. So in fact, he'll score 0 often. Because they're going to throw it. CeeDee Lamb's going to score, and Ferguson's not going to score 0 again like last year, and George Pickens is going to get touchdowns. It's not going to be Javonte all the time. So
Is that a
by the way, he's
guarantee
never
on
been a
Ferguson?
touchdown scorer. What? That he'll score this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll put it on the board. We're going to put that on the board?
You want to?
I did it for Deontay Johnson once a year, and it did not work out. So
I feel strongly that Ferguson will score a touchdown.
I agree with that.
I might have cursed Deontay Johnson.
We were sweating it out for Trey McBride for the majority of last year,
we
too.
were.
But at least Trey McBride had like 1,000 catches.
Yeah, but you felt like it was inevitably going to happen.
Oh, yeah,
right?
fine in fantasy. Can you imagine the monster year he would have had if he had 8 touchdowns?
Gotten in the end
Oh, my
zone.
God.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
There's just guys like that we got to get him the ball near the goal line more.
All right, if I'm ranking those guys in terms of confidence that they continue to have a fantasy relevant role for this week, I'm going to go with, believe it or not, number 1 is going to be Javonte Williams. The reason why he's
Really?
not
in
like
terms of not in terms of
where I have him ranking for the week. Not
Yeah.
like I have Breece Hall ranked higher because
He's the least
Breece Hall
competition. Yeah.
is the best player out of those three, in my opinion.
Agreed.
And I also think that, like Javonte, just to Mike's point, the competition is very slender. They should be winning that game. Breece Hall, the fear would be, does Buffalo come out of this game or come out of the gates up 21-7 at the at midpoint of the second quarter, and the Jets have to throw the ball a lot?
Yeah.
And then, so I would go in terms of ordering them, it would go Javonte, Breece Hall, ETN.
In terms of secure role, is that how you're ranking them?
Correct. No, I'm ranking them. I think it's ETN, Hall, Javonte.
I have ETN, or I have Hall then ETN.
It's like, but those two are kind of back in sort of right there in that
Javonte's
RB2
the number
territory.
3 in our
But just like
rankings.
there's I don't think there's a way in which Javonte does not have a lot of work this weekend.
That's
Agreed.
fair.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. How about your next one, Field Yates?
Daniel, earmuffs if you'd like.
Oh, great.
Oh boy.
Will the Lions offense get back on track? The hard part about what took place on this past Sunday was we spent so much of the offseason saying to ourselves, how much is Ben Johnson going to be missed in Detroit?
Yeah.
Aaron Glenn as well, but we're talking about fantasy football, so we're talking about offensive guys. And it was the perfect storm because they got bum rushed last weekend, and it felt like the offense had no answers for the Green Bay defense.
What does bum rushed mean?
I don't know. They just
You can hear.
You can
Oh, yeah. When I cover my ears, I actually just have these.
They got dominated.
Yeah, you have an earpiece.
I have an earpiece in. This is not helping.
Dominated. Yeah, that actually probably helps you hear because the
It made
ambient
me hear it
noise.
stronger.
I just want to know if someone tuned in right after you said that, and then he was just sitting here like
Just
this the
sitting-
whole time while you were talking, like looking around.
So there probably was somebody that tuned in just at that time. But it was the perfect storm because they played an awesome defense and they were not ready. And it's week 1. There can be curveballs thrown your way. But they got to get back on track in a hurry because we invested a lot in a lot of players in this offense.
Yeah.
Amon-Ra had 3 catches. And I was, when we did our tiers episode at the very, very beginning of Fantasy Focus, I had Amon-Ra outside my tier 1 wide receivers for one simple reason. There are so many mouths to feed in the Detroit offense.
Right.
Those mouths weren't even really fed that much in week 1 because they were so inefficient. But Jahmyr Gibbs still a top 10 running back play for me. Amon-Ra St. Brown still a top 10 wide receiver play for me. But we thought there was room for both of those guys, plus maybe some J-Mo deep shots, plus Sam Laporta, who was good. And then Jared Goff's going to have his probably 7 to 8 weeks a year where he's really good for fantasy, mixed in with the duds like last week. But we need this offense to get back on track. It's I think, an easier test. Not a simple test against the Bears, but an easier test because if they don't, a lot of big-time investments are going to end up not returning value.
Yeah, I am worried about the middle of that offensive line. I think we talked about it at the end of week 1. It's something that I will definitely be watching here in week 2 because not only does the running game need to get on track, but with the way that the Lions run their offense, like they need to be able to run the ball to set up play action and all the things they want to do. There's no way unless you're using J-Mo over in the middle of the field, which I am very okay with getting some short yardage, short area targets for Jameson Williams. He doesn't just need to be a deep shot. But Jared Goff is just not going to have time to be able to find his guys deep down the field if that offensive line doesn't start playing better. So between the offensive line and the change in coordinators and just how bad week 1 was, vibes feel not great heading into this game. I'm going to
Divisional
expect
game?
It's a must-win.
Gotta get it.
It's a
I think
huge
there
game.
are 2
we
games.
can't start 0-2.
2 games that feel like must-wins. Not literal must-wins, but there are 2 games featuring 4 teams where if whichever 2 teams emerge 0-2, it might feel like, all right, congratulations, we're on the 2026. Lions, Bears, Patriots, Dolphins. Patriots are like a trendy, like, could they sneak into the back of the playoffs team? The Dolphins are like, hey, if we don't win this year, we're going to have to blow this entire thing up.
Yep.
The Lions are a team that, of course, was an NFC favorite coming into the season. And for the Bears, it's like, yeah, we've had this roster that I think is pretty good. It's just a matter of having the right person at the control panels, that being Ben Johnson. If they start 0-2, panic is going to endure in Chicago.
All right, I want to talk about Keon Coleman because I'm tired of talking about the Detroit Lions. It just hurts my heart too much, Field. I'm really sorry about that.
Yeah.
No, but do you think that we can trust Keon Coleman in week 2 after what happened in week 1? Because this is one of those things that when you look at the box score, you might be caught thinking, oh, wow, Keon Coleman had an unbelievable game. I'm set up with this awesome wide receiver 1 in this Bills offense.
Not fully sold.
When you look a little deeper, you recognize 7 of his 8 catches came in the 4th quarter, right? That touchdown catch he had wasn't even a pass to him. He just happened to be in the right place at the right time. I'll take the production. Like, I'm thrilled if you happen to use him in week 1, and I'm excited that when the 4th quarter was there that like he was a guy that Josh Allen was looking at, but do I feel like all of a sudden we've just unlocked Keon Coleman to be this consistent starting potential player for our fantasy squads? Not quite yet.
I don't feel that way either, or as well, I should say. He's right outside my top. He's outside my top 30 for wide receivers this week. Is Keon Coleman
Outside your top 40 this week?
top 40? Excuse me. Yeah, where do I?
Yeah,
have
I've got him at 41. You've got him at 43. Mike
Okay.
has him at 39. So maybe in a 12-team league, he'd be like a low-end flex option. But in 10-teamers, I think I still want to continue to see it. I'm certainly, if he is for some reason available, go out and grab him. But
perfect storm. 394 passing yards from
Oh, man.
Josh Allen in week 1. So much of that came from like the midway point of the third quarter and on. On top of that, Josh has had some struggles against the Jets. This is a very talented defense, albeit under different defensive coordinators and such. But this is a tough matchup for any opposing offense. Do you think there's any kind of shadow coverage?
Yeah, do you
going
want
on
me
this
to talk
weekend?
about this now or save for the shadow report?
I could save it for the shadow report.
Save for the shadow
All
report
right,
because
sorry.
I have an interesting
notes.
nugget on this.
Yeah, I
I will
know.
say this: my general optimism for Keon Coleman seems to be a little higher than your guys. I mean, he
No, I'm
played
optimistic for
almost
sure.
every snap. He was
Yeah,
over
yeah.
90% of the snaps. Clearly, seems to be established as the top perimeter target for Josh Allen. I think the
More thinking
issue
about
is
week
it
2.
might be a little bit, maybe more to week 2. But I think as we saw last year, there's going to be games where they don't have to throw it as much. They don't have to fling it around the field as often as they did in this game.
Yep.
So he might be a little inconsistent. I don't think he's a wide receiver 1, but should he be an every week starter? Probably.
Is
I
this a
think he's-
week rest of the season preview, or is it?
That's like going forward.
Yeah,
Like
going forward. Yes,
But
I agree
yeah.
on that. By the way, it's already feeling like a great value because you got him super late.
super late, yeah.
All right,
and I
yeah.
doubt he's available in any of your leagues. He's rostered in 85% of fantasy leagues. So
Yeah. More thoughts.
That's like
on
the
on this
4-team
one,
leagues. Which,
Yeah.
by the way, shout out to the 4-team leagues.
why not?
Why not? Yeah.
Hey.
I mean,
Mike?
you were in a 4-team league with your daughters. Didn't I think one of them beat you last year, though, in the 4-team league, right? Weren't you telling me that you were in a 4-team league with your
No,
daughters?
we did pick them.
Oh, that's what it was. That's right.
6 of us. Yeah.
I went 12-4 in week 1.
Yeah. I did not do as well. I think it was 11-5 or something. I did not. I'm in last.
Oh, that's great. All right.
Okay, you're up.
Yeah, getting smoked. Oh, my turn. All right. Last one for me is the tight end market crash.
What?
Because we had 3 guys that we ranked as tight end 1s last year, or at least fringe tight end 1s in the case of Colson Loveland, who we all have outside the top 10 this week. Evan Ingram, Mark Andrews, and Colson Loveland.
Yeah.
So Ingram, very concerned about the fact. I went through and went like play by play to see how he was being utilized because it was very clear snap count was concerning early on in this game. He got hurt on a third quarter catch. He played 1 more snap and then he left for good in the game. But prior to that injury, the initial injury, he played 20 of 49 snaps. Now, for comparison, that's about 40%. For comparison, in his 3 seasons in Jacksonville, he played 76% of the snaps. So Adam Troutman was very clearly the number 1 tight end for Denver in this game. And I don't really
Sean
understand
Payton,
why
soft
that
spots.
was.
Soft spot.
What?
Sean Payton soft spot.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no doubt. He has his guys that he likes a lot. So my question is, if he's healthy and plays in this game, can we trust him after he played so little? Is that going to change? Is that our first game with the team? Is it a matchup theme? Like, why?
Plus Bo struggles.
I think this
Yeah,
goes
both.
back to the phrase that we used to say where trust is a strong word,
Yeah.
maybe.
I wouldn't feel great putting him in my lineup this week.
So here's the counter that I think most people are probably going to have to deal with themselves is if I drafted Evan Ingram, I probably didn't draft a second tight end. If you grabbed, here are some of the names that were on waivers that I think I would start. Maybe you guys would or would not. Jawan Johnson,
Of course, yeah.
Would start him.
would you start Harold Fannin over him?
I don't think it would go as
Probably
far as
not.
Fannin. I know he played a lot, but and David Njoku's not going anywhere. And also Cedric Tillman had a good game, and Jerry Judy's going to be involved. Like I
I'd
don't
play
know.
Fannin over him. So those 2 I would play. But so if you could grab either of those guys off of waivers, I understand how it's a conversation. But if it's like, yeah, like I have Evan Ingram and I can grab Mike Gesicki, like I probably
not
wouldn't
that.
roll that dice.
No, I think Fant was ahead of Gesicki, so I won't go that far. But
It's crazy. Yeah, Fan had a touchdown. He had a fantastic debut.
Fantastic. I see what you did there. So anyway, worried about Ingram a little bit. I think he's a bench guy for now, not a drop. Bench
Yep.
guy, we'll see. If his playing time goes back up, maybe he's fine. So next one is Mark Andrews. He's the guy I'm most confident in from this group, at least short term, because it looks like Isaiah Likely is again not going to play.
Yep.
I know that Andrews only had the 1 target in this game. I actually moved him up a little bit last night. It says 17th on the screen. If you're watching, I moved him up to 12 because I removed Likely from the projections. He did play 76% of the snaps. He ran 64% of the routes. That's up a little bit from last year.
Okay.
Keep this in mind. He had 1 target that's not great. They only attempted 19 passes in this game.
That's true.
That's part of it. A lot of it went to Zay Flowers. He was open. He's the one that dominated. They're going to throw more passes in. Not a lot. It's not a high volume offense, but there's enough where if he throws 27 this week and Andrews gets 20% of the targets, he'll be okay. He'll give you a tight end one number. So at least with Likely not there, I still feel like you can pass. Andrews is a passable starter.
Okay.
So I think he's fine. And then the last one, of course, Colson Loveland. He's on benches for now. He was the 10th overall pick of the draft. That's the kind of guy you keep on your bench in fantasy.
100%.
But Cole Kmet early on, it might have been the rookie thing. Yeah, he's a very young rookie. Cole Kmet had 4 targets and 57 snaps. Ran more routes than Colson Loveland, who had just had the 2 targets in the game. So Loveland on the bench, and we're not starting Kmet. He's not.
No,
not
not
going to get
startable.
enough. So that's my view. Andrews borderline starter. Ingram on benches. Loveland on benches.
Gosh, well, let's turn that frown upside down and go from a tight end market crash to maybe a tight end that's soaring in fantasy football field, Yates.
Is Tyler Warren
like
already
this,
a top 5 tight end?
Yeah, he's on that. He's 6 for me this week, but he's
On the
in that
precipice.
conversation.
Tight end 3 for me this week.
Okay.
Behind only a couple
can't blame you
guys,
for
couple
that.
fellows named Brock Bowers and also Trey McBride.
Heard of those.
The volume was great last week. He had 9 targets, 7 catches. The thing about Tyler Warren that I think is so encouraging for fantasy purposes is that so much of what you need to do with him is pretty simple. It's just like underneath routes that you just dump the football off to him and let him do the work after the catch, which is very, very helpful for PPR formats. He had over 700 yards after the catch only last season. He was one of the best run after catch players in the entire draft process. So there are players who are like super, super talented. But in order to get them the football, you have to give them like Jamison Williams would fall in this category. Like, in order to throw the football down the field, you have to block him up to give your quarterback the time to throw the football down the field.
Correct.
Tyler Warren should be like an easy one every single week. Like, defenses are not going to just say like, okay, let's like make sure Tyler Warren can't catch the ball 1 yard past the line of scrimmage. Like, that's not a defense you talk about. The counter to that is tackle better, right? Mm-hmm. He should see a ton of targets. And I am just thrilled that we have yet another superstar tight end that has entered the mix because we went through a very dry spell for quite some time, but the young pipeline has been awesome. Tight end 3 for me. Also got a carry last week.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, which is something he did at Penn State. So he'll keep getting those. So
Totally.
going away, that was baked into the projection this year too. Not
Tough
a big
matchup
number,
this week, but yeah,
you know,
totally.
you're not going to get a ton of tight end carries, but you'll get them here or there. Yeah.
I'm going to close out my third talking point by talking about another Baltimore Raven. And for me, this is more of a PSA for everybody on Zay Flowers in case this is your first year rostering Zay Flowers. You need to know what you're in for, right?
Okay, yep.
This last week, 9 targets, 7 catches, 143 yards for 2 touchdowns. That's good for 28.1 fantasy points. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
You feel thrilled with that. But there's some things that you need to be careful of.
Okay.
Mike already mentioned it. They threw the ball 19 times. 19 times, and he was still able to come up with 28 fantasy points.
Crazy.
When we mentioned him last year, Field, we talked about him as being one of the, if not maybe the, like most known yo-yo player in the NFL. This is a Baltimore Ravens team that when they are ahead and winning, Zay Flowers can just sort of disappear into the ether because they'll just use Derrick Henry. We don't need to go out there and throw the football when we're playing the way that we want to play.
Smart by them.
It is, honestly. And by the way, if you've got a wide receiver that's 5'9", 180 pounds, and you're up by 3 touchdowns, like there's no reason to put extra wear and tear on his body, right? This is one of those offenses where if things are working the way that the Ravens want to, this is a wide receiver that even though you drafted him as a low-end wide receiver 2 or potential high-end flex play, he might not be able to deliver that consistent value. And that's one of the things with Zay Flowers, consistency. He can give you these huge weeks, and when Baltimore needs him, he can be that guy. But if this is your first year rostering Zay Flowers, this is just a PSA to say this is not what you're going to get every single week. He's not this kind of consistent player. You love what you were able to get from him in week 1, but I think there's going to be a little bit of a return to earth because we won't see this kind of efficiency on 19 pass attempts from the Ravens and him being able to pull down 7 of them for 143 yards.
2 things. One, Mike talked yesterday, I think it was in reference to Tyreek Hill. There's this big mass from like wide receiver 15 to 40 or something.
Yeah.
It's very similar. Applies to Zay Flowers as well. Second thing, and I won't, if the answer is yes, then just save it for the next subject. But is he part of your wide receiver cornerback matchup?
He is not.
He's not? Okay.
No.
But Cleveland is a good defense. As we saw last week, they did a great job on both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. The entire Bengals offense struggled. So just worth noting that the challenge, I think, is much more difficult this week against Cleveland than it was against Buffalo last week, who The kryptonite for the Bills defense is the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, every single time we see them play each other, it feels like it's a high scoring game.
Yeah,
from
the
that
Ravens
perspective.
offense they figured it out.
For what it's worth, we just have them, and I think all of us still see Zay Flowers as starters. Field, you're the lowest as wide receiver 31. I'd assume you'd still consider him as a flex option potentially.
I mean, if you have him as your second wide
Yeah, I
receiver,
think he's a weekly lineup lock. I mean, he's done that the last couple of years. He's still the number one receiver in a very high scoring offense, and you're going to have games like last week. If you benched him last week, obviously you're kicking yourself. You're right. He's going to be.
He'll have a
bit
game where it's
bust.
3 for 22 and he gets you 5.5 fantasy
He had
points.
5 big games last year, and they were all before week 10. So it sounds like you're saying try to trade him or trade him soon.
I'm just saying this was a really good week 1 if you rostered Zay Flowers. I wouldn't expect him to get 28 fantasy points again in week 2. That was all.
Not.
But speaking of the Shadow Report, Field already mentioned it. Mike Clay, why don't we dive into your wide receiver cornerback matchups for week 2?
Yeah, let's do it. We'll start with upgrades, and we'll go to downgrades, and then I'll just give you at the end the other guys I think will be shadowed this week that we're not really moving the needle for.
Okay.
So upgrades here: Chargers receivers going up against the Raiders. We've talked about the secondary in the past, and actually last week, despite facing New England, who again had a very limited Stephon Diggs, give up the 6th most fantasy points across the league to wide receivers: Kyle Blue Kelly, Eric Stokes, Darnay Holmes. They are in fact the top 3 corners. I expect the Chargers receivers, who you may have caught that game on Friday night last week, they did good. All 3 of them had a good game, 5+ catches, 68+ yards, and 13+ fantasy points. So we're upgrading Chargers receivers against the Raiders. And then the second group here is the Patriots receivers going up against the Dolphins corners. Again, Storm Duck is even going to play. If not, he's hurt. Rasul Douglas steps in with Jack Jones and Jason Marshall. Remember, Miami last week allowed a big game to Michael Pittman. Indy didn't have to throw it a lot, but Pittman still had 6 for 80 and a touchdown in that game. They gave up 272 passing yards, almost 10 yards per pass attempt to one Daniel Jones. So
Bob Douglas might have positive receiving yards. This week, is what you're saying.
Might get there. Hopefully we get a little more Stephon Diggs. I'd like to see a larger
I was just going to ask you that. Yeah, so we saw he played about half the snaps.
Right? You would think a guy that you should see more and more of him
ramp up over the next couple of weeks. Yeah.
Yep.
He ran 10 routes and had 6 receptions on 10 routes. It just felt like we are going to find a way to get him involved.
He'll have a big target share once
Absolutely.
he's out there. And that's part of my hesitation on waivers with Kayshon Boutte. I didn't spend really anything on him this week because as Stephon Diggs' role evolves, I mean, we don't expect this to be a high-powered passing offense that's going to support multiple guys. So
Mike's only saying that
Mike
because
does not like Boutte.
I beat him. That's a better joke than where I was going. All right, go ahead with your next one, Mike.
All right. You started the joke and he stepped in there.
I know. That was
stole
just
it.
no big deal. No big deal.
All right, what was going to be your version?
Mike was upset because I spent $3 in fab on Kayshon Boutte and he spent $2. So I got him. So he's just Boutte's out. He's not actually good at football.
What league was that?
That was I think it was our dynasty league, was it not? It might have been the FF.
So.
It might have been
probably Focus or FF.
Focus or FF now, one of those leagues. I play in so many leagues with you guys. It's actually hard to keep them straight.
In a few of the leagues, you have the name of Mike Clay. It's like very confusing.
I know. I gotta change that up.
True. It's very confusing. Let's talk downgrades. We'll start with Keon Coleman. We just talked about him before.
Yeah.
So check this out. I think this will be a surprise.
I love it. Check this out.
Check this out.
Yes.
I think this would surprise a lot of people who understand that Sauce Gardner is one of the best corners in the NFL.
I would agree. Yeah.
So I've been charting this stuff for a long time. Obviously, his whole career, I've charted every game. Week 1 was the first time he's ever shadowed full time.
Wow.
First time.
Yeah.
The Jets throughout the beginning of his career. Yeah, they've had him just kind of play his side, DJ Reed on the other side. But last week, Aaron Glenn kind of shook it up and had him shadow DK Metcalf in that game. He was on him on 29 of 32 routes, including all 29 on the perimeter. And Metcalf was fine. He had 12 points in the game, so nothing spectacular.
4 for 83, yeah.
But Gardner played well. He's one of the best corners in the NFL. And I think, and this is why I look closely at how they used Coleman last week, he was a full-time player and played on the perimeter about 90% of the time. Gardner's not going to go to the slot. A lot of times, top receivers will move around. CeeDee Lamb's in the slot half the time. Keon Coleman did not do that.
He won't do that. He's not nearly sudden enough to do that.
I feel like he did enough in week 1 to say, hey, I'm the number 1 perimeter receiver, not Josh Palmer or anyone else.
Yeah.
And that's going to sell the Jets this week when they're prepping. Let's put Gardner on that side. Yeah. And even if they don't, which I think they will, but even if they don't, Brandon Stevens, pretty darn good corner on the other side. So Coleman will be up against those two throughout this game. I think he comes back to earth this week. So startable, but bust rate much higher than last week. All right. That's one. The other one is I think Mike Evans for the second week in a row will draw a shadow, this time from Derek Stingley Jr. So it's
not ideal.
A tough start to the season.
Yeah.
Stingley shadowed Devontae Adams last week. You may recall if you had Adams in your lineup, didn't do so hot. 7 points in that game. A lot of that came late as well. and he was very good and effective last season. And also, Mike Evans only 8 points last week while shadowed by AJ Terrell, which is a matchup he's usually done well. So this is a tough one.
Shefty is bullish on Devontae Adams this week. I saw on Get Up he did his 3 must plays for the week. No surprise, Christian McCaffrey, but his other 2 were Devontae Adams and Zach Charbonnet.
Oh,
okay,
interesting.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. I'm hoping Ken Walker does a little more, but
yeah, we talked about that.
Sounds like the answer is probably not if Shefty's picking Charbonnet.
Agreed.
Right?
That makes me nervous.
Makes me nervous too. Yep. Walker to the bench.
Oh, by the way, one other question I think people may be thinking about is, will Pat Surtain shadow Michael Pittman in this game? Best corner in the NFL, shadow Calvin Ridley last week, but he has faced the Colts and when Pitt with a Pittman active twice in his career and shadowed him neither time.
Wow.
That includes late last season. So I don't think they view Pittman as a guy that they want to match up in that way. So it could happen, but history says it won't happen. So you don't have to be super nervous about it.
Do you ever get I mean, I know it's a wide receiver cornerback matchup is what we're talking about, but do you ever get like the rare tight end shadow that you got to be careful of?
I mean, it's sometimes a top corner will like align, like sometimes you see.
Belichick used to do it.
Yeah, you would see like, I was just going to say like that, or maybe the Chargers, like they would take a guy like Michael Davis, the Chargers would, and put them on Travis Kelce only when he's in the slot. So it'd be like 6 plays.
Gotcha.
So,
Okay.
so no, that's nothing I'm ever worried about.
Okay. The way you said that was so dismissive. That's nothing I'm ever worried about. So I don't even know why you say that
Yeah,
question.
it's just not enough plays.
Sure.
I'll never do that.
That's fair. All right. We'll go check out the playbook.
Dopp,
Oh wait, hold on. We got a full screen here. The other shadows.
Oh, we got a couple more
for the week. It's just the other ones. We're not going to change the
value on
fantasy
these
value
players.
of these guys, but I expect them to be shadowed. AJ Terrell and Justin Jefferson, Trevon Diggs on Malik Neighbors, probably especially now with the Deron Bland out for this one.
Yeah.
Christian Benford will shadow Garrett Wilson as he did last year. Trent McDuffie on AJ Brown as he was in the Super Bowl, and Reek Woolen on DK Metcalf. But again, start those guys with confidence.
Oh, those guys are starters.
It's a big week for shadows. There was a lot of names this week. It won't always be this lengthy.
Yeah. Did you guys see that Malik Neighbors was like, I got to learn how to smile more, I guess, because you guys.
NBF, right?
Yeah. I thought that was a fun article to read.
Did you guys also see, speaking of stuff taking place in pop culture, that I guess football culture, Micah Parsons is an IDP junkie?
I did see that.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons, so he had his IDP draft, and he took Edgerrin Cooper with his first-round pick.
Teammate.
I think the first pick overall as well. He posted it on social after the fact, and Cooper did ball out. In Micah's scoring system, he had 36 fantasy points. That's a big number. So Micah bypassed himself for Edgerrin Cooper. That's how you indoctrinate yourself into the locker room.
Do you know when he is doing this draft? Is he only
Ingratiate.
doing in one of those things?
Whatever. I'm not Stefania.
Do you know
knows
when
big words?
is he playing like an actual IDP league where he also rosters offensive players, or does he only roster defensive players and that's what their fantasy league is? It's
That
just
sounds fun,
defensive
though.
guys.
Yeah, that sounds like psycho behavior.
It does?
Only people like you guys would do.
And by the way, someone else drafted him, and they were like, "Did you trade for yourself?" And he was like, "It was too much draft
Too
capital.
much.
to
I
trade for
couldn't.
myself."
Yeah, I saw that.
So good. Micah is a wise man.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's dive into our. Oh, by the way, like I said this before, right before we were trying to wrap this up, but go check out the playbook. Mike Clay writes it every single week. It's an unbelievable article. I love the color coordinated. Like, should I start a guy? Should I not start a guy? Like, what is their matchup? You make it really easy to be able to read through that. So go check that out.
Thanks,
it's an
man.
unbelievable
Signed that
article.
myself. Thanks.
Did you really? You did that?
Of course.
Well,
I'm surprised
Sign
me
all
you
that
did.
stuff.
Good job.
By the way, I have a stat XFP.
I've never heard of that.
It's on ESPN.com.
Where can I find that? Oh, really?
Oh, that's
ESPN.com.
Under the
great.
More tab?
Yeah.
Under the More tab.
Yes,
that's
under
where
the
you can
More
find
tab.
it. Yes,
There you
it
go.
does exist in our game.
Let's dive into a
right.
Thursday night football preview. We're talking Washington Commanders and Green Bay Packers.
There we are.
Like we've been doing every single week when we're talking about games. There's things we're trying to watch for in this one.
should be a
We're only
fun
1
game.
week in the season. So, Field, let me start with you. Like, what's the one thing you're watching here in Thursday night football? You can do more than one, but what's the one thing
No,
you're
I'll
watching?
start here. Commanders backfield, right?
Yeah.
And so this past weekend, it was basically your turn, my turn with Austin Eckler and then Bill Krosky Merritt. Merritt ended up, as Mike referenced earlier, being the highest scoring Commanders back. I would think they probably hold on to that pattern tonight, right? They won the game this past week. It's a short week against a really, really good Packers defense. Is this the week that you shake things up and hand the ball or hand the rock over to Bill Krosky Merritt as your go-to guy all by himself? Answer is probably not. I've got Krosky Merritt just ahead of Eckler in my rankings. But I think for our purposes, the reality is Eckler probably needs a half dozen catches to pay off. Krosky Merritt probably needs a touchdown to pay off.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly right.
Tough matchup.
I don't really want to start either guy.
That's how I feel.
I was only, 19 snaps for Krosky Merritt in the opener. That number needs to go up. And maybe they did cap him at 10 carries because Jeremy McNichols played 13 snaps in this game. So that needs to go away. Those 4 carries need to go to Krosky Merritt.
Yeah.
Take a little more away from Eckler, and then we got a fantasy starter, but we're not there yet.
It doesn't feel quite as egregious as some of the other ones, though, right? Like Ramondre Stevenson deserves playing time less than Austin Eckler does. Who else are we talking about in that same vein?
Kareem Hunt.
Henry and
like J.K. Dobbins deserves opportunities. Yeah. Austin Eckler, I think, is okay to continue to have a role. The Patriots one to me is just very hard to figure out. But
yeah. It's going to get to a point, though, doesn't it feel like, and maybe this is just like the fan of me, but it feels like it's going to get to the point where if you get a game where it's like JCM is the hot hand, we're just going to let him, cook, right? And at that point,
Eckler is such a great pass catcher.
Exactly right.
He's always going to have that in the bag.
Yeah, we need Krosky Merritt to get all the carries. That's a trick. And
we'll see.
What are you watching today?
See how that goes.
Tonight I'm watching my guy Matthew Golden. I need more. I need more usage because they used a ton of wide receivers in the opener. Romeo Dobbs led in routes and targets with 16. Jaden Reed had the most targets with 5. They only had 26 dropbacks. So this was another team that didn't have to throw the ball a lot. I expect a competitive game against Jaden Daniels in this Washington offense. So hopefully they have to throw more, and that should lead to more Matthew Golden. He was second in routes, but it was only 13 because they just didn't throw it that much. So that's what I want to see. I want to see if they evolve his role, and he was just limited a little bit in the season opener. In the meantime, though, I think Golden, Reed, Dobbs, fringe flex options. I don't feel great starting them this week, but I'm very curious to see if Golden's role expands. It has to. He's a first-round pick. You got to expand the guy's role.
You say that.
I know I say that.
That's what we think.
I still have confidence. I have confidence it will happen.
You can't bail after 1 week, can you?
I can bail on him being a starting fantasy asset, but I'm not going to. Yes. I'm not going to drop him. So.
Yeah, but he has to play more. If this usage continues all season long, it's a problem.
It's a problem. Now they're going to be so good that it's going to be hard to question much of what they do.
Yeah.
But taking a guy 22nd overall and not playing him a ton,
it doesn't make sense, especially because he looks
Christian
so good. And by the way,
right
I don't want to. You're gonna laugh when I say this, but I don't want to compare him to Justin Jefferson. Okay. Yeah. See,
good laugh.
He's laughing at me. I told you not to laugh. Okay. I asked you not to, and you did it anyway. Justin Jefferson barely played in weeks 1 and 2 of his rookie season, and they were like, okay, we got to put him out there. We got to get moving on offense, and the rest is history. There's a chance that same kind of thing's happening here. They're just taking a little easy on Golden first game, and then they'll ramp him up. Fair. Confident.
I'm watching the wide receivers on the other side. This Commanders wide receiving core, we obviously saw Deebo Samuel just dominate the targets in week 1. And then obviously Terry McLaurin just didn't. Terry McLaurin had as many fantasy points as Noah Brown, which is not what I was expecting.
Great,
Even with the touchdown regression that we were expecting, I still assumed that Terry McLaurin would just get more involved in this game. Only 4 targets, which seems unbelievably low for a guy that you just had an entire contract offseason conversation with. I think that is the water will find its level, I think, as you say, Field. But I'm still interested to see, are we going to have 2 top 30 wide receivers potentially in this office with Deebo and Terry McLaurin?
That's the only point that I think is important to hammer home right now, is that a lot of people have framed it as, hey, does Terry McLaurin get back on track and then Deebo fades for this week? I don't think it has to be one or the other. I think it could be both guys at the same time carrying value. They're playing with Jaden Daniels.
Yep.
And it's a very thin wide receiver room beyond those 2 guys. So to me, it's possible that Deebo's a top 25 option each week and Terry McLaurin's a top 20 option each week.
Yeah, they just need to score, and it actually needs to be kind of like Philly, where you feature Brown, Smith, and Goddard. They're all going to have 20+% target shares.
Yeah.
It's going to kind of have to be like that in Washington, because whether we like it or not, Zach Ertz isn't going anywhere. He's going to have 20%.
Yeah.
And then we need the other 20. We need about half the targets to go to those 2 guys, Deebo and McLaurin. And it's possible.
Yep.
Agreed. Yeah.
If you were picking this game, which side would you go?
Oh, I am picking this game. I'm picking the Packers. Go Pack, go.
I think it's going to be a great game. I'm super pumped for this. 26-25 Packers.
26-25.
1-point win.
Would that be scoregami?
I don't know. Good question.
Did you guys see what happened with Scoregami over the weekend?
No, what happened?
Are you familiar with the account, the NFL Scoregami account?
I am, yes.
Okay, so for those out there that don't know what Scoregami is, it's when a game ends in a score that has never happened previously in NFL history. It turns out the Bills-Ravens game, which was 41-40 or 42-41?
I don't know, but
I think it was 41-40.
41-40.
so, yeah.
That's never happened in NFL history previously.
Didn't know that.
As you guys also probably know. Scoregami, usually 41-40 is a confirmed score. Scoregami immediately tweets out when a game hits with a scoregami, like, oh my God, it just happened for the first time in X number of games. This score has taken place. Didn't happen at all. And then he just went dark, like never tweeted about it. And then the following night at the conclusion of Monday Night Football was like, the Vikings beat the Bears 20-17. This is not a scoregami. It's happened X number of times in the past. The entire internet now believes that NFL scoregami is a Ravens fan who just was so bitter after that loss, which I can't blame said Ravens fan if that's the case.
By the way, it has to be a bot account, right? Like in terms of
It's designed by somebody.
People say that about, I think.
So it could have just been like an outage or something. Like,
Possible.
I could have.
But don't you think the person who runs it after the fact would just go in there and throw a manually typed out tweet?
maybe they didn't even think to check it. I don't know. I have no idea.
You gotta imagine the Menchies are pretty strong.
Yeah, I don't know.
I do not believe that 25-26 would be a scoregami. It appears as though it's happened before. However, I'm looking at a website that I do not know how to read and trying to figure it out on the fly. So you see how there's like a whole
do
thing?
see
You gotta
that.
choose
Yes, I
it's
do.
It's a little, but I think it's already happened. I also, as much as it hurts my heart to do this, would take the Green Bay Packers.
Okay.
They looked really good on week
looked
one,
awesome.
man. Like they looked fantastic, and I can only imagine as Micah Parsons gets more involved with that defense, how it's going to work out. All right.
I'm so pumped.
It's now time for the Raheem Sanders Monopoly Fund. This is our long shots. As a reminder, we're going to have this little picture that we're going to throw it onto the desk here. I've got it in my hand for those listening at home. We've got $5 in Monopoly money that we are putting in for every one of the people that we choose. Field, you guys do long shots on FF now, but I believe your roster percentage is 20%.
Yeah.
We decided to take it to the nth degree because Mike Clay told us 2% was too much. So we have to do 1% rostered or fewer.
Yeah. That might even be too high. There's guys that play like a full complement of snaps. Under 1%
there were some
roster.
interesting names at 1% and below.
There sure were.
Well, let's do it. Yeah, Daniel, I feel like you're always so generous in letting Mike or me kick off. So fire away.
I'm going to start with Olamide Zaccheaus.
That's a good one. 7
Rostered
targets
in
last week.
0.4% of leagues, 7 targets. So for me, a guy that just had a lot of opportunities, even though there's a bunch of people in that offense to be able to catch passes, he was just utilized. And so this week against the Detroit Lions, as much as I don't want that to happen, I'm going to go with Olamide Zaccheaus.
So I'm going to put this up here.
You want to put it up there? Deal?
Yeah, two things here is I love Monopoly. I always was going for the Reds. Illinois Ave, that thing was the most landed on property in all of Monopoly. It's
right?
actually proven. Illinois, Indiana, and what's the third one? Something else Ave. Mine is going to Noah Gray.
Yeah,
Everybody is
Noah Gray.
Everybody is sitting here saying to themselves, hey, Xavier Worthy is probably out. By the way, Patrick Mahomes did say something yesterday to the effect of like, yeah, we're going to need more of Hollywood Brown with Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice missing the next couple of weeks. Rashee Rice can miss the next 5 weeks?
Yes.
But maybe an indication that it could be, and the Chiefs did not put Worthy on IR. Maybe this is more like 2 to 3 weeks as opposed to 4 to 6.
You know, it's interesting when you're a player like Patrick Mahomes, you can say that. When you're a player like Jordan Mason in week 1 and you accidentally say it, all of a sudden the team feels a little bit differently.
Right, totally. Mahomes can say whatever he wants.
Yeah, Mahomes is a lot. He's like, I don't know if I'm officially breaking news here, but I'm going to plan on this. So.
But everybody's saying like, hey, we're going to see more of Travis Kelce. I hope and think we will. But
hey, man,
I forget that Noah Gray, Mr. Steady Eddie for this Chiefs offense, he had a 2-touchdown game last year. Would not surprise me if he finds the end zone this week.
All right. I like that call. I'm going to go with
grab your money.
A guy who may have come up on this show before at one point or another, and he's going to be in the same game because he's on the same team as Noah Gray. Tyquan Thornton. We're making it official.
What?
I used him in the preseason. We had a close call, so we're using him here in week number 2 to start this thing off. I have to. I feel like he was one of the inspirations for the show.
Yeah.
I have to use him. 0.6.
Agreed.
It looks like 0.7% now rostered. Some people knew this was coming, and they picked him up overnight. That's why he went up to 0.7%. Had 4 targets, played over 70% of the snaps last week. This guy has 3 career touchdowns after Sunday afternoon. 4 p.m. slate. He'll have 5. He'll have 4 career. Maybe 5.
Maybe 5. Look, Mike's calling it a 2-touchdown
Maybe
game.
5, but certainly 4.
Tyquan Thornton is just, for those that maybe don't know, like he's going to be the MVS of this offense, right?
is.
Like
Yes,
that's what the role is going to
So
be.
But
he's gonna score a
if
couple
he comes
touchdowns.
close on Sunday, I am going to call every person I know that plays fantasy football and ask them to add Thornton so that Mike can't keep using him every single week.
I love that. I love that.
No,
Get him
use
over
anymore.
1%.
By the way, I'm not. I feel like that's outside the spirit of the game. I'm not going to keep using the same guy. That's no fun.
Well,
Good for you,
You have
Mike.
to double wager if you do.
Yes.
You got to bring $10
Yes.
Monopoly.
Yeah, that's
That's
right.
how
we
it
talked
works.
about this.
Yes.
And wait, did we decide this do returns count? Because he had almost
Yes.
had a return touchdown.
Returns count.
Returns do count.
Returns
Okay.
count. I think what we decided was we're not going to choose quarterbacks. It has to be what would be considered like an anytime touchdown.
Of course, right.
Yeah. So, also our producers have a pick here. Our producer Tyler
Oh, fun. All right.
choosing Kyle Juszczyk, who may get some tight ends run this week.
That would be
without
an
George
amazing
Kittle.
one.
That,
That would be
see,
amazing.
that's in the spirit of the game. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So that'll be a very
Which
fun
one wasn't in the spirit of the game?
No, they all are.
Okay.
I think they're all good. Yeah.
Mike had to think about it for a minute. He's like, do I want to throw someone under the bus right now?
Zacchaeus is fine.
All right. Well, if you are watching, not watching at home, we got a full screen here. Field taking Noah Gray, 0.6% rostered. Mike with Tyquan Thornton, 0.7%. I got Alameda Zacchaeus, 0.4%. And the producers taking Kyle Juszczyk.
Oh, man. So
Juszczyk
great.
scored between 2 and 3 touchdowns each of the last 4 seasons.
Has he really?
Right in that 2 to 3 range, 4 straight
Wow.
years. So he's gonna do
I
it a
love
couple
Juice,
times.
man. I love that guy.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's great. I mean, honestly,
Super valuable.
I could see him being one of those guys, although I don't know if it would work the same way with Mac Jones under center, but like, couldn't you see him rather than like getting CMC or Brian Robinson, just getting that little like tight end flip at the goal line? For
Anything
those,
could happen with Juice. It could also be a 1-yard rushing touchdown, right?
By the way, this
He's
is how we
great.
help people in 20-team leagues, right? We're here for everyone.
That's right.
You know? Maybe,
That's
you're looking,
right.
maybe you're looking for a desperation flex in your 20-team league.
We were talking about it though at lunch yesterday. We were saying like what we really want is for nobody to hit until like week 13.
Yeah.
Because the drama will build each week. Like if it happens this weekend, like I'll be happy for whoever guessed right. But it's also like, dang, that was too easy.
I will also be happy if you or the producers get it, Field. Yes.
Or you.
Oh, yeah. Or if I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I honestly feel like if Mike gets it right off the bat, I'm going to feel like this game was rigged.
Rigged, yeah.
Yeah. I
I'm just
just,
gonna win every.
You were
I'm just
talking to
gonna
the
pick a guy
schedule
that's gonna
leakers.
score
Yeah.
that's
every
it.
week.
Yeah.
We never got our red zone update from Kevin Pulsford, did we?
Oh no, I don't know.
No, we did not. Yeah.
Text him.
Check
we'll
out
do that
FF
on,
Now. That's a ton of fun,
yeah, we'll
as
find out on
always.
Sunday.
All right, that's going to do it for us today. We're going to be back tomorrow with part 2 of our week 2 preview, as well as a little bit of a Thursday night
Texting
football
Pulse right
recap. This is going to be a very fun show, as
I
it
can't
always
wait.
is. That's
Yeah,
going to
enjoy
be
the game
great.
tonight, guys.
Dude,
I love the cadence. Like Tuesday, I woke up and I was like, no football tonight. And then it was like, bam, we're back.
it's right here,
With
right
a
on our
great-
doorstep.
with a
Yeah,
great game.
this will be a really good one. All right, we love you guys. Don't forget to love each other and be kind to yourself. You deserve it. Have fun on Thursday Night Football. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
Tennessee